A very good morning, my dear Silent Rose family. For today's reflection, a couple of words comes to my mind: loss and grief. Many of us have experienced grief in so many different ways. When we lose certain friendships, or when someone who is near and dear to us passes away, or when some of us who may have faced heartbreaks. In that moment, you definitely feel a grief. My dear friends, grief can be experienced for so many different reasons. Now, my question for you is, how many of you all believe that you are alone in that grief? The right answer is, you're not. In all truthfulness, Jesus is also with you as you go through that grief. But many of us generally don't see Him there because we are so overwhelmed by our emotions. Our emotions become the master of us when clearly it's supposed to be the other way around. My dear friends, when you feel grief or loss, what we must do is, yes, we must process it, but we're not supposed to wallow in it. We can't let that grief become our master and control how we act, how we speak, how we make decisions. It is exactly when you do this that you miss out on how close Jesus is with you in that grief. Instead, why don't we pray? Rather than letting our emotions run our show, when we turn to God and openly welcome Him into that grief, we are giving ourselves that space to process these emotions, but not on your own. You are going to do it with God. And one of the things that God will likely teach us is that, as painful as this loss or grief may feel right now, it is something that is necessary for God to mold you into the holy person that He has called you to be. As we read in the Gospel, sometimes it is essential to go through some pruning so that you become extra fruitful. And the loss or the grief that you are facing right now is very much a part of that pruning. And so, my dear friends, while it is important to grieve, it is also important for you to grow in this phase. But for that growth to happen, the grace of God is very much essential, because that is what sets the boundary between the ordinary and the extraordinary. And God does not want an ordinary story for you. He really wants to create an extraordinary masterpiece out of you. Have a blessed day, dear friends. God bless.